You're listening to the Ramblin' Matt Ramage podcast.
Let's go!
What is up, everybody? Little pregame Packers versus Eagles. I'm joined with Gehard de Beer. I think I said your name wrong. I hate saying people's name wrong, but he spent a little bit of time in Green Bay. People might remember him at Packers training camp, holding bikes over his head. What year was that?
This was last year.
Yeah, that was last. Dude, with this whole thing going on, it seems like that was could have been 2 years ago.
Yeah, it seems like so much time has flown by in between now and then, man. It's crazy because when I speak to people about it, they say, "Man, when did you play football?" I said, "Well, this was literally a year ago." As of the pandemic is the start of a whole new era of life almost. So
yeah, it definitely is. So we got some comments rolling in here. Appreciate everyone joining us. If you have questions, just comment. We'll get to them and just talk about this Packers Eagles game. All right. First of all, I want to talk about, since you are an offensive lineman, David Bakhtiari. He just got a monster deal.
Yeah, him, man.
And he's obviously I've never met him, but it seems like one of the most like awesome dudes. Like, could chug beer. Seems like a regular dude. Like, do you have any insight of David Bakhtiari?
The one thing that I really loved about David was he never took stuff too seriously. And he's always got a joke in his pocket. And I once told him, "You are one of the most creative people I've ever met in my life." And I told him that because, I mean, the amount of isms that he comes up with it's incredible, and it always keeps you laughing. So I love being surrounded by him because, playing football, you walk into that door every day and you don't know if you're going to have a job to do or not. That's the way it was. And that's the way it is everywhere. I don't care where you play. That's the way it is. But he had a way of making it easier, and being around him and having that kind of humor, just it's awesome, man. So yeah, and so I'm very happy for him. Fully deserved, by the way. If you look at the amount of time that Aaron can sit in that pocket with confidence, that matters. It matters a lot. So great for him, man. Super happy for him.
Yeah, dude. David Bakhtiari is one of my absolute favorite. Like, I was gonna pull this up here. I got this. See if I can find it here. Right here. This is it. I absolutely love David Bakhtiari. Not just because he could chug, but I always wondered though, with his chugging, and I've heard offensive linemen talk about drinking. Like, during the season, is that like a normal thing, or is like you have to stay in shape? Is it easier for offensive linemen to be able to like drink? Because I know like drinking obviously isn't as healthy, but like, so is it? How does that work? Not him, but like, because I'm not going to put his business in the streets, but like on average, like do guys party it up during the season, or is that more of an off-season thing?
During the season, not as much, because you need to make sure you bring your business every week. But the cool thing was we would do offensive line dinners once a week during the season, and what you did was you all go out, the guys pick a spot, and then whoever's turn it is to pay has to pay. So we all went out, and the guys had a few drinks, but nobody really gets crazy like that because everybody just got to drive home after too. So it's but some of those nights, yeah, I mean, some dudes can just put it away like I've never seen before. I mean, because we're all 300+ pound dudes, and some dudes are just better at drinking than others,
Oh yeah, I'm sure I have no chance against guys like David Bakhtiari. But let's talk about this game a little bit. I see the comments rolling in here. For people wondering, my family's all good. Like I've told people that I was in quarantine. I actually still am in quarantine till next week, but we're all good. Appreciate you asking. But let's talk about this Packers versus the Eagles. All right, I got some notes here. Let me see here. I want to look at. So like the Eagles are 4-7. No, the Eagles are 3-7.
Yeah,
so
3-7-1, I think, right?
Yeah, 3-7-1. We got the Giants at 4-7. Washington's at 4-7. The Cowboys at 3-8. Like, that division is wild. Like how bad it is. Like it's
rough.
So like,
yeah,
I would wonder, like, in that situation, like the Eagles, like they're in it. Like they have any good as chances. They have a better chance than like the Vikings do at making the playoffs, I think, just because that division is there to be taken. But I'm not sure they can, because I don't know how many Eagles games that you've watched this year. I've watched some. I watch a lot of red zone when the Packers aren't playing, so I don't see like the full games. But Wentz doesn't seem on. I think the Packers defense can take advantage, maybe get some turnovers. But I'm excited about this game. How do you feel about it?
It's tough to really express my honest opinion without really bad mouthing people, because I've been in there, and you hate when people that know absolutely nothing about your locker room talk the most about it.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. The Eagles, they have great players. They have tremendous players, and there's some form of disconnect happening because there was when I watched them last week, there was a lot of miscommunication between the receivers and the quarterback. Balls overthrown left and right or underthrown, so what happens is, just so people understand a little bit, is in certain coverages, receivers either have to pull up or they have to keep going or they have to make a cut. And so when you see two different things out of your perspective, then you got to recognize that receivers sometimes do one thing that they see and the quarterback sees the whole field, so they look at something else. So that's the tough part. So there's a disconnect and a miscommunication. And I mean, they were a team to be dealt with. They won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles a while ago when Wentz was hurt, And so they have the caliber. So the question is, where is the real disconnect? And if we look at their offense, they haven't really been scoring as much as they should be.
Yeah, and they did hand it to the Packers last year. So like and I think it's basically the same team with I don't know how their turnover went, but yeah, I think that this isn't going to be like a gimme game at all.
No, there's no such thing in the NFL. It's hard to win, and most games are decided by a 7-point deficit. So
yeah, and the Packers are playing at home, and this year they haven't been on fire at home with no fans. I think that has a lot to do with it. So I know now the Packers are bringing in some fans, just like employees and their families, I think it is. So it's not going to be a ton, but I think that'll help with because being at Lambeau Field. And like the fans, like everyone, especially on defense, I heard Zadarius Smith talk about other guys, how just the energy and it brings them up a little bit. So
yeah, especially when you're tired. I mean, that crowd getting behind you, it gives you that adrenaline rush that nothing else can, man. Especially on defense, there's a lot of communication taking place, but you got to make it place. Offense got a lot more talking going on, and so on defense, you just got to see ball, get ball. There's a lot more to it than that, but in terms of communication, the linebackers tell the linemen what to do, vice versa, and the DBs got their secondary going on. So it is crazy the amount of crowd noise, can make a huge difference. And having that little bit of presence, I think, would be great. But man, I miss the days when stadiums were jam packed and they didn't have to play some sort of fake news over the TV to make it. I think that's some crowd noise.
Yeah, I think it's funny, like when you hear the crowd noise on TV, and then like you get a shot of the stands, it's like there's no one there. It just seems so. Yeah, it seems so. Like this year, the Packers have been their one struggle is stopping the run. So, like from what you see, what causes that? Like I think this defense is great. I think that the players are outstanding, but for some reason, teams are able to get the running game going on us. How can they stop that?
So there's two trains of thoughts here. Just to explain the Packers defense a little bit, we are a 3-down front who wants to be a 4-man front. And if I can explain that a little better, we have a D tackle, a nose tackle, and a D end. Then you also have the outside linebackers who line up as defensive ends, right? So basically the front shifts over, and then the linebacker comes down on the side. So that's what we call a 3-down front that wants to be a 4-man front. So basically you have your versatile dudes like Zadarius and Preston, who then can play dual roles. They can play coverage players, and they can also play edge rushers, which they are both obviously stupendous at. Really, really good rushers. But the hard part becomes is it's all about the interior, How do your linebackers fill when your defensive linemen take on the blocks? And it's impossible to tell where it lies without doing an in-depth study. And I think the one thing that you've noted is kind of obvious is you miss Blake Martinez quite a bit. That dude was the leading tackler for a reason. The dude made plays. He still does. If you look at him over the Giants, he's still making plays side to side. on this in the field like he did. I mean, dude's running everywhere, and so I think the Packers have an obvious hole in that position right now as well.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know a lot because like I'm always very clear with this. People ask like, how come they struggle here? Or what do you think of this? Like, I don't know. Like, I think that they're getting better, but like, yeah, they definitely, if they can figure out how to fix that and be able to stop the run consistently, because the Packers are having a great season. I know a lot of people like in the national media, even some fans are real down on the Packers, but like they won 8 games. Like this is a good football team.
Yeah, it's a really good football team. Last year they were an amazing football team too.
Yeah, and this year Aaron Rodgers is absolutely lighting up. Like I got this stat over here. I want to ask you about this. So Aaron Rodgers enters his 193rd career game today with 397 passing touchdowns. The fastest ever to 400 touchdowns is Drew Brees with 205. With just 2 passing touchdowns today, Rodgers will become the first player in NFL history with 5 seasons of 35 touchdowns or more. Like that's insane. So like I think he gets that today. I think he gets to 400. So he'll get 400 passing touchdowns if he does today, and he'll be the quickest to get there. All right.
And you know, people talking about Drew Brees and how he's breaking all these records set by Peyton Manning before him, and how Peyton congratulated him because of it. And I mean, and people for some reason it just blows my mind that I don't understand is why does the media hate Aaron so much?
Yeah, I don't know, but they do.
Why?
Here's my idea of why it is. Because, you know, there's certain guys who hate certain players who just bash, like, you know, I'm not going to mention them all because it ain't worth mentioning. But FS1 guys, right? It's all for ratings because, like, there's certain guys who hate the Cowboys or who hate the Packers. It's all these big time teams because it gets ratings. Even Packer fans will go on there. Oh, I wonder what they're going to say today because, you know, Aaron Rodgers had a great game. Oh, so now they can't, and then they still talk crap. So I think they hate him. It's just for ratings. It's just for show. But yeah, like Rodgers could cure cancer, and they'd be like, "Well, it took him long enough." Like it doesn't matter like what he does. Like he's having a really great year, and people aren't like I don't think giving him the respect he deserves. Like Packer fans are. The Packers surround the Packer beat writers, the Packer area, but like outside of the Packers community or whatever. Like I feel like I think that they're just used to it. Same with Brady when he was in New England at his peak. Peyton Manning, like people just expected them to be great, and if they just weren't as Superman, then they try to tear him down. But Rodgers is having like one of his best years. I don't get how you can even crap on him.
He had one bad game, and that was when the offense really struggled to get going completely. Nothing clicked at all. And, I mean, are you going to kill somebody for having one bad game all season? One bad game. And mind you, this was not all him either. You know, people look at it and they say, okay, well, let's just throw some numbers out there. Quarterback threw 10 for 20. I've seen quarterbacks throw 10 for 20 when the balls have been in somebody's lap. Like, they hit them in the chest and it's a drop ball. But that's against the quarterback stats. So then, stats are just skewed. They say, wow, this guy had a great game. He threw for 300 yards. Yeah, well, the receiver broke a tackle and ran for a 99-yard touchdown. So how do you reconcile with that? So stats are skewed. So if you really want to know the story, you got to watch the game and objectively say, this was a good game, this was a bad game, this is what happened. But a guy like Aaron has day in, day out just outperformed and just tremendously shut out expectations. And there's a reason he's going to the Hall of Fame. I mean, the dude is just amazing. He's great at what he does. And, people talk about Patrick Mahomes like he invented the no-looker. Aaron's been doing it for years. Why was nobody talking about that? He's been doing it for years. I watched him do it in the offseason once. And the linebacker, I'm not going to name the name, but the linebacker just took off running the other way. And he just popped it to the crosser, just running here. And, I mean, this dude was just clear, and he ran for another 15 yards. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think Rodgers mentioned that on the Pat McAfee show. He does every Tuesday, and he said, "Yeah, nobody's been doing that since forever." Because it's not just Rodgers. Like I think he mentioned he saw Favre do it, and I'm sure there was guys before him. Mahomes. Well, I love me some Patrick Mahomes, but he's not the first one to do it.
He's not the first one to do it. No, I mean, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but because doing that in a split second like that is incredible. I'm not taking it because let's be honest. This is soon going to turn into Patrick Mahomes' league by the way he's playing and all the media love and attention he's getting, right? And I saw a big headline article. This is Mahomes' league now and not Brady's anymore. And the game between the Chiefs and Tampa Bay proved it. But that's just one media outlet's opinion. But when you look at it prospectively, Patrick Mahomes plays incredible football. He throws really well, and then he makes a lot of plays on the run, and he keeps plays alive. And Aaron does the exact same thing. So they're making it as if, Patrick had invented this whole new system and wheel. Look at Aaron when he plays. He runs in the pocket. His pocket presence is phenomenal. He knows when people are coming. He can feel it, even on his blind side. And he moves around, and he keeps the play alive. And then on the other side, you also got to test and give the offensive line credit for protecting him like that and giving him the opportunity to do that. I saw them run a timer the other day. He was sitting back there for 8 seconds untouched.
Yeah. And you got to give credit to the offensive line on that. And but with Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, back in 2010, 2011, Rodgers won the Super Bowl. He was on top of the world too, and everyone was saying the same things. But it's like they just forget the greatness and which he still is. But when he was young, he was because that's why Patrick Mahomes gets so much love because he's young and he's balling out. He's doing great. So he's the face, and they all want to talk about him. But some of these old guys, they still got it.
Yeah, and he, 35 years old is very old in the NFL, just so you know. I'm not sure how old Aaron is, but I think he's around that age. But
I think he's 37. I think he just turned 37.
And, that's old for the NFL. I mean, a guy like Brady, he just turned 40 a few years ago. And I remember somebody mentioned, we had a conversation once, and he said that it was, the dudes that are in and out of the locker room, after a few years, you look around, there's nobody you know anymore that was here with you originally.
Yeah.
That is the only guy who's been in that locker room for 15 years.
Yeah, and I remember, I think it's nowadays quarterbacks seem to play a little bit longer, Brady's 40, Rodgers 37, doesn't play like it at all. But I remember when Brett Favre was 37, they were like, oh my God, he's still playing, he's old, and it was all the retirement talk.
Yeah.
You're young, so you probably don't remember that. But it was a big thing then. But now a guy playing 37, I mean, he's older, but it's not like everyone asks him every day, is he going to retire? When Brett Favre, and he talked about himself, that's probably why. But it was every year, are you going to play? Are you going to retire? Are you going to play? And then finally, obviously, Rodgers got his spot. But but now I think I don't know if the modern technology or whatever, or guys are just in better shape, but they seem to play longer and at a high level.
Well, if you look at the rule changes that have taken place, that's the one biggest factor that really makes a difference in career longevity, because they want to see good football, right? Good football sells on TV, right? And that's what keeps people engaged and giving me and you the opportunity to talk on this podcast today. Now, let's look at quarterback, roughing the passer and things like that. Compare that to 10 years ago, it's not the same. Compare that to 20 years ago. Oh my goodness, people were destroying people back then. I mean, football was a lot more physical 2 decades ago than it currently is right now. And that's because of all the rules that have changed. Targeting has come into effect. You look at a guy like Chuck Cecil back in the day. He had a Sports Illustrated cover and too vicious for the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I love him.
And Chuck actually coached here at the U of A while I was still there. So I had a lot of conversation with him, talk about his time in the NFL. And I mean, the dude he's crazy. He headbutted a guy with a helmet on, and he didn't have anything on. He just took him, Flanagan Fells, guys with the 49ers now. He just took him and said, let's go. Wham.
Yeah.
Whacked him. I'm like, this guy is crazy. So
I remember. I remember playing Tecmo Super Bowl. It was a video game, the first football game, I think ever back in the day. And Chuck Cecil was the guy. He was fast, and it wasn't like now where Madden's all the graphics. It was just up, down. They would run. I remember him being so good, and everyone just loved Chuck Cecil back then. I was very young, so I don't remember watching him play. I'm sure I did, but I remember as I got older, he was the name everyone talked about. I watched highlights. Yeah, he was just an animal.
Yeah, I mean, just crazy. even when this league is at its most aggressive, and you get the highlight that you're too vicious for this league.
Yeah, I know. It's just imagine, and that was back then. So like now, like he would probably have just been, they would just kicked him out of the league.
Seriously, yeah, he would have gotten targeting after targeting after targeting, and they would have just said, I mean, the dude would not have made any money because he'd pay all his fines.
He'd have owed the league money after a season.
Yeah, seriously, they'd say, all right, either you can't come back or you got to pay off your debt.
So let's talk about the NFC a little bit. You got the Packers, the Seahawks. There's a lot of top teams. Who's one of the teams that you think is going to be the biggest threat for the Packers?
When I look at it, I think the one thing to consider. So you got the Saints, okay, you got the Seahawks. Those are the two teams to me that are real standouts. One, the Saints are very versatile in their offensive attacking, using Taysom Hill from time to time. And then Drew Brees is obviously just as good as any of the great passers out there. He's
actually out right now. I think he's coming back though before the end of the year. Taysom Hill's starting. Drew Brees got hurt. He ain't back yet.
Oh, okay. I did not see that recently. And then the other thing you got to look at is, Russell Wilson's been on fire, man, and that he makes great plays, keeping plays alive, and he scrambles really well as well. So those are some things to look at, in terms of their attackability. And the one thing I think that Green Bay struggles a little bit with is when people seem to keep plays alive, is to kind of try to stop that. Our secondary is second to none. Kevin King, you got Jair back there, Donnell Savage with his interception last week. It was just the secondary is doing amazing. Jair's just locking people down. It's like, don't even look that way if he's got somebody on an island.
Yeah, for real.
It's amazing, and I think he's ranked number 1 by Pro Football Focus, which, by the way, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but Pro Football Focus is also not the best place to look at for stats, but Jair definitely deserves what he's getting. I'll tell you that.
I agree with that. With some of the stats, I don't know. I could go all day with that. Yeah. But he's definitely one of the best corners in the league, if not the best. I've always said, like, he's going to be the best. Like, you can rank corners however you want, but he's up there. He's he shuts receivers down. Like, I've seen stats at the beginning of the season. I haven't seen lately, like, what he's done, but like no one's had like more than like a catch, and sometimes the catch wasn't even when he was on them. So like he's completely shut receivers down, and he's on their top guy usually. So like he's just ridiculous.
But when you walk off the field and there's not a single completed pass on you by some of the league's best receivers, that's incredible. It's just your covering is amazing. Obviously, your assignments are tremendous. And then on top of that, you make plays even when the ball comes that way. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think that the Packers really have a lot of elite guys. Like our running game, I think the Packers running game is underrated. You got Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, you got A.J. Dillon. He's not getting a lot of action. But there was like missing time. Aaron Jones was out. I think Jamal Williams, they had a little COVID situation.
It was noticeable. It was noticeable.
Oh, yeah, with these guys back, and hopefully they're back in the groove, I think get their running game going into the play action. We got our receivers back. Lazard is back. Like, I want to see MVS doing his thing. I think this team can be dangerous when they're fully equipped.
Yeah, let's touch on Marquez Valdes-Scantling real quick. Why did people give him death threats with his whole ordeal?
Because people are horrible. Like, it's like Twitter. Like, Twitter is like a cesspool. I like Twitter. I go on there. But, like, I've seen it over the years. Like, I've had Brandon Bostic, who used to play for the Packers. He had a special teams, whatever. They ended up losing the playoff game, and a lot of people blamed him. The same thing happened to him. Ty Montgomery fumbled a kickoff. The same thing happened to him. And I had both of them on my podcast. And it's like, I don't understand, like, why people think. First of all, you don't lose a game because of one play. Like, I get it. It's at the end, so people blame it. And I don't have a problem with people saying, well, we lost because of him. But don't go on Twitter and tag him and say all these things. I'm going to kill you or whatever. Even just being shitty, like, I don't know. It's horrible. I think MVS will redeem himself. He doesn't really have to redeem himself. He made one mistake that game. Like, he's coming.
He owned it. He said, I made a mistake, but if you like, you're shooting me a death threat because of a football game. And mind you, the Packers were in overtime. Are you going to blame one guy for for fumbling in overtime, or are you going to look at the whole idea as to why were you in overtime in the first place?
Yeah, they went to bed overtime. And he had a ridiculous catch to help get them to overtime. So like,
exactly. Yeah. But they forget about that part.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I think it's a small amount of people. I'm not like whatever, but they're idiots. Like there's some idiots on the internet that I've gotten death threats kind of from Bear fans. I talk a lot of trash, but not it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same because the people I know who I'm talking to are probably like 14 years old, and they get mad when I roast the Bears. But yeah, like it is what I think. MVS is going to be huge. I think that he's going to come up. If Aaron trusts him, then everyone should trust him.
I mean, he's a good receiver, man. He makes tremendous plays. He's fast, incredibly fast, and he gets open. I mean, and that should be enough for people. I don't know why people expect everything to be phenomenal and perfect every single time. It's not realistic. It's not.
No. It's not.
And for myself, being a former player, I would 99% of the time I will advocate for a player. Somebody like AJ Brown, I can't defend. I'm sorry, I can't. But 99% of the time, I'm going to back the player when it comes to the media or a fan criticizing me.
Oh yeah, because I think the media and fans are just not realistic all the time.
No.
Like sometimes guys, like I agree. Like if it's something outside of football that they did or something crazy. Like I'd rather them not be on the Packers because most Packer players don't do that. You like never see. I don't know if it's a culture or whatever.
Can't.
Usually there's no crazy stuff. But like on the field, if someone makes a mistake, I'm not gonna go on Twitter and bash them and drill them. Like I have no problem. Like I say, people talking about it because that's what people do on podcasts and say this or that player did this wrong or that wrong, but not to go and like crucify him and try to just go off and off and off and never stop. I think it's just stupid.
I completely agree with you, man. And you're right. I mean, the one thing that Green Bay does to a huge extent is recruit character. That locker room is extremely sacred. And there are people that they have gotten rid of, especially just in my time that I was there. And I remember sitting upstairs when they had released me and they told me, we're sorry to let you go. We love you. You're a great locker room guy, but we're investing in our young guys right now. I said, okay, thank you. So, and that's kind of how my conversation went with one of the guys who I talked to that had released me. And it's one of the worst things to really talk about because from that moment on, things started going downhill. But outside of that, like they recruit character like you wouldn't believe. You walk into that locker room, there was not a single person that I could name that was just an asshole. I can't. I mean, they were all great dudes. They were all very courteous, great locker room guys, and just it was awesome to be part of a locker room like that, where guys actually, it wasn't all about me, it wasn't all about my play, it was all about the team, and that's why Green Bay is also successful, and that's why guys stay there. You'll see guys who are tremendous at what they do, who get paid less than what they should, but they are. But they want to stay in Green Bay for that reason. And that's why Green Bay does so well at what they do. Because they recruit that kind of character, they know that they'll maintain those guys as well, even if they can pay less for them. Yeah,
I've talked to a few players. I've never talked to a player that was like a dick or like rude or whatever. Like I've been fortunate. Like a lot of them follow me on Instagram. I was at the Packers softball tournament with the shirt you're wearing right there. And everyone was really cool. Show them. There it is. I was, for people who don't know, most people do, I was a little umpire for the Packer charity softball game. Made a huge mistake. Screwed that all up. But everyone was really cool. Even Devontae Adams messaged me after the game, said it was all in fun because I screwed up and they kind of they razzed me up a little bit. And I actually messaged him after the game. I was like, sorry about that. I felt bad. And he was like, no, it's not that serious.
No, it's not. They just get on you for the fun of it.
Yeah,
serious about it. Where at the moment it might be because we're super competitive all the time.
Oh yeah, I think that's what it is. That they were super competitive, and I screwed up, and I had no idea. I was like, they're like, is it out or safe? And in my head, I was like, I have no idea, but I got a 50-50 shot. So
yeah, yeah.
I should have just went with whatever Aaron Rodgers benefited from. Because
well, I would say this though, one side probably loved you, and the other side probably hated you.
Yeah, there's a lot of laughing.
And defense probably loved you. So,
but yeah, I want to talk a little bit around the league, all right? Because I was watching some games before I come up here to do this, and how good the Browns are doing this year is ridiculous.
I got the game up right now, and they're absolutely just beating the crap out of Tennessee right now, and they just got a pick off of Tannehill as well. Which, by the way, just what we talked about, this ball was in this guy's chest, man. It bounced off of him, and it was in the air.
Yeah, and that's what happened. But I think it's crazy, like, and that's interesting that they're beating up on the Titans because the Packers play the Titans coming up, and a lot of fans are worried about that game because Henry can just run through people.
Yeah,
and that's what the Packers struggle with. But I think it's interesting, like with the Browns, like I don't know the last time that they've like won 10 games, and they're obviously gonna. I think this year.
How about 1 games? That's what they're on right now. They're 8-3. The game is on 41-21 to Cleveland up against Tennessee in the third quarter, just ending right now. Incredible.
Yeah.
Man.
I think it's funny. I was saying it to my son earlier. I said it's funny that the Browns are having such a great year. Not a lot of people are talking about it because a lot of other stuff going on in the league. But then the Steelers are undefeated. I was like, that's how the Browns' luck goes. You're having a great year and you still won't win the division.
Yeah. I mean, but let's talk about the Steelers for a second. They don't have Le'Veon Bell or AJ Brown, and look at them. They are doing some of their best.
I think.
I'm sorry, Antonio Brown. They're doing some of their best football, and people are talking about how they wanted to leave and do all this and do all that, and they said, "Well, how many Super Bowls did you win with those two on your team?" And look at them right now. I mean, and that's why I always emphasize is character matters. Character matters. They're doing it without those two. Now, I'm not saying that the guys who are playing in their positions aren't, adequate. They're amazing players, obviously, and they're doing a great job because they're an all-around great team. So I mean, but just look at it. Character matters, man. I mean, and that's just proof of it.
Yeah, I think that I think Tomlin's a great coach. I think he got these guys together. I think that they're a great team, but I didn't expect the Steelers to be this good. Like even when they were undefeated, I was like, nah, that'll change. That'll change. But like, yeah, I think they proved a lot of people wrong that the Steelers are for real. I think that's kind of weird to say considering that they're like 11-0. But yeah, they're balling out.
Yeah, I mean, usually we'd be saying this about the Patriots, and I think this, how Tampa Bay has turned around since Brady got there speaks volumes of Brady and his influence on a team. And it shows how dependent coaches, Bill Belichick is still one of the best to ever do it. And people are going to crucify him for having one bad season, mind you. But let's not go off on that. But, coaches are dependent on players as much as the players depend on coaches to make good calls. And it shows. I mean, and, 5 years ago, Cam Newton was one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL. And he's struggling for some reason. There could be some disconnect there too. And we don't know what the true reason is. But if you look at the Patriots now, they're not the same team without Brady.
No, they're not.
And how they switch things around and now they're a winning team.
Yeah, I think that with the Patriots, I think like Belichick was like, I think he's awesome. Like I actually like I even like his like press conference. Like a lot of people get mad. I think it's hilarious.
Oh, it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious. He doesn't care. He just wants to talk football. But I think that they got in cap trouble, like he was saying. Like I don't know. You can't kill the Patriots for being bad one year when they did what they did, and because a lot of Packer fans don't like Patriots, but I think it's more about Patriots fans that I have a problem with than the actual Patriots. A lot of fans.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Sure,
the
Patriots say the same thing about you, though.
Oh yeah, I'm sure, dude. I know a lot of fans, even Packer fans, that don't like me. So
yeah, here's the other thing. Belichick. I saw his press conference once. Now that you talk about that, a reporter asked him a question. There's no fans in the stadium and there's no crowd noise or anything like that. Can you compare that to anything? He goes, practice.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so he's got that real Marshawn Lynch type of humor. It's really funny.
Yeah. So before we get out of here, I want to talk about the NFC North. How do you see this shaking up? Like I think I know what it is, but I just want to double check, make sure I got it right. So that you got the Packers at 8-3, hopefully 9-3 by the end of the day. The Vikings 5-6, Bears 5-6, Lions 4-7. I know that they're playing. I don't know what the scores are, but how do you see this? I think you probably see the Packers win the division, but How do you see it shaking out? Is there a chance that we'll have more than one team coming out of the North going to the playoffs?
I don't think so. This conference is really strong. If you look at the entire NFC, the conference is just crazy strong, right? And so if you look at, I think that overall, the Packers will probably be up there for sure. Because you're assuming that the Packers would lose 4 games and another team has to win 4 in a row, and we only have 5 games left in the entire season. So if you look at where everybody's at currently, I see Green Bay winning this division. I'm probably a little biased, but that's okay. I'm
extremely biased.
That's okay. But I'm looking at it in a way that's a little more holistic, just kind of comparing where everybody's at and how many games are left. This has been an outstanding season for a lot of people, an outlier just because of COVID and, games get canceled. And then all of a sudden you need to be ready 3 days from now for a whole different game, So it's just thrown people completely off, and all the work that you put into one opponent gets thrown out the door, and you say, nope, this is our next opponent now. So I think it's really cool to see how well the league, the PA, as well as the players have adjusted to this. And unfortunately, there were a few players that opted out, but if you look at it, most players are playing because that's what they want to do. Yeah. I remember Twitter blew up, and when this negotiation was taking place, and the players said, we want to play, but you got to be reasonable, right? So all the safety protocols in place, I think it's been tremendous. But back to your question, the way I see the NFC shaking out is I do see Green Bay taking the top of the North. And I remember sitting in a team meeting, and Coach LaFleur always said, the team, the ball, the North. So the team's first, the ball is always the program, and the North. Win your division, you're in the playoffs. Then you can worry about the rest. So he always emphasized how we got to protect the North. You got to win your division games, because the way they view things is when you have a win against your own division team, they count it as almost 2 wins, because you put one guy further behind and you accelerated yourself in front of somebody else a little more. And that's why inter-division games are so important.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. Like, you have to win those excuse me. You have to win those division games. Plus, I hate everyone in our division. But I want to look at his schedule, because I think the Packers have a real good shot of winning some. Like, we got the Eagles today. Like, listen, I'm really biased, so I'm probably going to say wins for all these. But we got the Eagles today. I think that they can win that game. We got the Lions. I think that they can win that game. The Panthers, I don't even know a lot about the Panthers. If that's a night game though, so Rodgers kills that night. Like, he's dynamite at night. So I don't know their record, so that's kind of an ignorant comment, because I haven't really paid attention. If I haven't heard what the Panthers are doing, they're probably not doing anything special. The Titans, I think, is going to be tough because they got a really good running game, and that'll be tough. But they're getting beat up today, and even then, I'm glad we don't play them next week. Because I don't like playing teams after they get beat up, because I feel like they're like hungry, like pissed off, Yeah. And then you got the Bears, and I think the Packers will beat up on the Bears. It depends, like, if they sit people, maybe we're in that kind of position. I don't think so, because NFC is wild, and they're going to want to get the highest seed they can. But and with division games though, with so many at the end, division games are tough, because you could say, yeah, they're going to win all day, but when you're playing the division, like you said, the important games, they're important to the other team too, and a lot of times not just as a football, but I think like teams, like coaches, they want to beat up on that other team, like even if they're not even in your, like you got the division.
If you get to keep somebody out of the playoff, you did good.
Yeah, and that bottom team, maybe that they don't even have a shot for the playoffs. Maybe it's the Lions or whatever. They want to beat up on like Big Brother almost. It's I think everyone comes to play like hardcore. Like when you're talking about division, that's why it was so impressive what they did to the Bears, because the Bears were they wanted that, and it just didn't happen, and I'm glad it didn't.
Yeah, but Green Bay, because of its history, because of its name, people make it a special occasion to want to beat Green Bay. They do, and they talk about Green Bay as this high held standard, which it is. It's a classy organization compared to the entire NFL, like you mentioned. You don't see players get in trouble over there. You don't. Not that there's a lot of possible ways to get into trouble in Green Bay, but
I think that the history too, like I think players know. I think a lot of players might not be thrilled about playing in Green Bay because like it's small. I heard a lot of players talk smack when they leave. Fine dining in Green Bay is like Applebee's or Olive Garden, I think someone said.
Don't shit on Olive Garden. I love that place.
Hey, so do I. I forget which one it was, but yeah. But I think Green Bay has a lot of history. I love the Packers. But I think we're gonna end this thing. Hey, I appreciate you tuning in. The game starts in a little bit. I got to get ready for this game.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Check him out. He's on Instagram. Say your name.
Gehard de Beer. But,
I can't say it first. I feel like an ass when I say it wrong.
That's all right. De Beer 67, Twitter, Instagram, both of those.
Yeah, go check him out. He's a good dude. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Go Pack, go.